No, like it was already brought up earlier about your like
Go ahead.
Dating preferences about wanting a girl with like a low body count, but that would also sleep with you really quickly. That you were like, no, I wouldn't sleep with someone with a high body count. Is that being like a standard? I thought it was kind of weird.
Wait, what? Sorry, what was weird?
That you like wouldn't want to sleep with someone with a high body count, but you also don't want to get married. So it's like, why? I mean, as if it's like an STD thing and they're clean, like why would you not want to?
Well, I'm a little confused as to the tying it into the marriage thing, because what would me wanting to get married or not wanting to get married have to do with finding it more optimal to date somebody who hasn't slept with a bunch of men?
I'm just saying, like, why is that like decreases their value is what you would think, which I also like feel that way too. So it's like, but if you're not dating for marriage, like what are you dating for?
Well, do you think you can't have a lifelong girlfriend and have kids?
No, I think that's ridiculous.
Yeah, why is it ridiculous?
Because why would you stay with someone but not also just like just go ahead and marry them then if you plan on staying with them forever? Like what's the problem?
Well, I mean, this is the solipsism. So you're saying, why would a woman do that? But I'm the man here. So you need to make a convincing argument why I should get married to a woman. I get for you, maybe you don't like the deal, but I think it's a better deal for me to not get married. So convince me that I should get married.
I feel like it's not something that I can really convince you of, though.
Well, I mean, you've come on a dating podcast to have this conversation. Yeah. So let's have the conversation.
Then
you're not going to change my mind. I mean, but like I'm happy to have the debate.
Because you want to date other people, like in your lifetime, you don't want to like just only be with one person?
Wait,
is that why you don't want to get married, because you want to be with other people?
Do I need to get married to stay with somebody for the rest of my life?
No.
Okay.
Are you worried about the like liability or repercussions?
The liability of what?
Like, or I should say repercussions of marriage.
Of getting.
Is that
yes,
so? You wouldn't.
I am concerned about the liabilities.
So you wouldn't love somebody enough to make that commitment?
Well, I can just reverse this onto you. Why can't she love me enough to not get married?
I guess.
So your argument falls apart.
I guess so. I guess that just because your values don't match mine. So like I wouldn't agree with that if I were the girl.
That's totally fine. She shouldn't date me then.
Well, yeah, that's my point.
Right. But you're going to have to make a more compelling argument besides, well, if you love her enough, you would do it.
Well, the point of marriage is to make that commitment to become one with that person.
Is that the point of marriage?
It's to be with that person for the rest of your life. Dating is kind of like a precept to marriage.
Well, the issue with that is that the divorce rate is astoundingly high. So it doesn't seem, or it doesn't occur to me, that marriage precludes people from breaking up.
I would say the divorce marriage is influenced by the ideals idolized today, because people think love is a feeling, not an action. Being in love is a feeling that's fleeting, but loving someone is a commitment where you reach a point, because a lot of marriages reach that point where it's like a lull and you decide, okay, no, we're going to make this work, or we're going to work together to continue with each other. But most people choose dating because when it gets to that point, they're afraid to make that strong commitment to get past it. So dating is the easy way out, and it's like, I'd rather not, and then just go find somebody else. But marriage puts you under the responsibility of standing to that commitment.
Does it?
It should.
But what does it have to do really with, are you saying for both partners?
Yes, for both partners.
Well, wouldn't this criticism be better aimed at women, given that they're more likely to divorce men than the reverse?
I agree with that. I think women are too emotionally led and emotionally charged to where it comes down to, if a man has a strong opinion or if it's rooted in truth, they can't handle it because it hurts their feelings. But I think what we need to teach women is your feelings don't matter when it comes to the truth. there's a hard truth
Sure.
and then there's a harsh truth. It's up to the man to be a good leader and a good man to be able to give the hard truth without just, blatantly being harsh. So I feel like when you guys bring it up, I agree. Women leave a lot of relationships for invalid reasons, but there's the small case of you have a man who couldn't lead the woman and she was displeased with the lack of leadership, which I guess
would that even be pretext for a divorce?
I have some things that I want to add to going off.
Wait, let me really quickly ask Andrew. Andrew, let me ask you a question. A Christian woman marries a Christian man, and he is, at least in her assessment, failing in his capacity to lead in the relationship, but he's otherwise a good person, a good man, there's no abuse. Is that enough pretext for a divorce?
No, Paul addresses this specifically. So the Apostle Paul says that even if the man falls away from Christ, the woman should stay married to him if she's a follower of Christ, because the likelihood is higher that he will be brought back to Christ by her not abandoning the marriage.
No, I understand. From a faithful perspective, that's different. I'm talking more of a secular.
Oh, you're okay. Secular. We can keep it
right,
secular.
because
Then.
as a woman, for me personally, I pray for a husband because who better to choose my husband than the creator of all things? And me personally, I like to wait and work on myself so that when I come across a man of such value, I'm valuable enough for him to pursue me in such a way. Because I would prefer to have a traditional type of love, but in today's age, it's extremely rare.
Well, so I would like to bring it back to the whole marriage thing. Really quick, though, there's a chat coming in. I'll let it come through, then we'll get right back to it.
Ogle donated $200. Okay, so hypothetically, if there was a prenup that said you get $0 upon divorce, would that still be an acceptable commitment of marriage in the ways they're describing?
To you two?
I feel like it's a cop-out if you sign a prenup. It's like you're already planning for failure.
Oh, I see. Well, that's awful convenient to say, but I wonder this, right? And of course, I already know what your answer will be because it's a cop-out answer, but let us assume for a moment that the divorce courts were rigged in the favor of men instead of women, right? And that women were getting screwed over as much as men have gotten screwed over in the last 50 years inside of divorce courts. Would you say then that a woman should protect herself by getting a prenuptial agreement? Because if she didn't have said agreement, then if they did divorce, the man had all the earning capacity and she doesn't, and she needs to protect herself.
And let me add on to this. In this hypothetical scenario, men are initiating 80% of the divorces.
Okay. I understand the reason for signing a prenup. Like, I understand the reason.
But can you answer my question?
Right.
My question is, if the roles were reversed in this scenario, would you advise your friend who's a woman to have a prenuptial agreement so that if a divorce happened and he had all the earning capacity that she could protect herself?
I would tell her, don't get married if you can't make that risk. If you're not willing
Great.
to make
That's
the
the
risk.
exact advice that I would give to a man in reverse. If a woman is unwilling to sign a prenuptial agreement, then don't get married.
No, I mean, don't get married if you're debating a prenup because you're
Right.
You're assuming
saying the
the
same
risk.
thing I'm saying. If you're debating a prenup, then don't get married.
Right, okay.
Same thing I'm saying.
Right.
So I would say that if the woman is willing to sign a prenuptial agreement, yeah, sure, get married to her, because then she is offering stake and equal to your own. And if she won't sign a prenuptial agreement, why get married to her?
I see what you're saying. Like, if she's not going to leave you anyways, it wouldn't matter.
That's right.
That makes sense. I guess the reason why I wouldn't, it's because it's like he's making a statement of, I trust you. So to me, it goes a little bit past the, like, how do I say that? The, like, cut and dry. It's just
Well,
legalities.
let us imagine for a moment. Let us assume that there was a bowl of M&Ms, okay, and they were all brown M&Ms. 50 to 60 to 70% of them were actually poisonous cyanide, and 30% of them were not poisonous cyanide, right? However, the person tells you, listen, I have checked these M&Ms, okay? I have checked them. And here, I'm going to hand you one of them for you to eat, and I need you to trust me. Or, option 2 is you can take the M&M and get it laboratory tested, right? Would you say that it's a betrayal of the trust to go and have it lab tested before you eat the M&M?
I would say it's smart, especially in today's dating
I
world.
would say it's smart, yeah, to go and get the M&M
However-
tested, right?
However, I believe that if there is no trust in a relationship, then the relationship is not good.
I want you to know that this was cleverly done, how you tried to skirt the question. You didn't actually answer it, though. And so to ask you again, would you say it's a breach of trust to have the cyanide M&M, the possible cyanide M&M, tested, even though the person you love said that they already tested it? Are you actually breaking the trust by having that tested before you eat the M&M?
I would say yeah, because you're going against
Yes.
the word.
Yes. Okay. So you would take the chance that you would take a cyanide-laced M&M rather than the potential that you might make the other person feel like you've broken their trust.
I feel like all relationship is risk, regardless.
Well, okay. If all relationship is risk regardless, you would agree with me that you're still taking a risk. If you sign a prenuptial agreement, there's still a risk there. But I also think that a lot of relationships are designed around the mitigation of risk. Here's one such example. Do you plan on doing long-term family planning when it comes to your children?
Family planning?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Is that to mitigate risk?
No, it's to ensure that my kids are raised properly.
And you know that by taking out risk.
By you're taking
You're
out
taking
risk.
you're taking away risk. That's how you know that they're like if you're doing long-term family planning, right? Then you're saying if I have more money than less money, there's less risk. Less risk that my kids are going to be in danger, right?
I thought you meant family planning in terms of education, like how you're
Same thing. All of it is the same exact thing. It's all mitigating risk. So
Well-
the idea here is you want your child to have the best education. Otherwise, you run the risk of them being less educated than they need to be to make it, right?
But you don't necessarily need to like spend a lot of money to get a good education.
I agree, but that has nothing to do with the fact that you're not mitigating risk. The whole point is to mitigate risk. So every time I look at married couples and I look at couples in relationships, they do everything in their power to mitigate risk, except sign this fucking piece of paper, which is really weird to me. And it seems to me like they don't want to sign the piece of paper because they don't want to mitigate his risk.
Well, okay,
It seems like they want to mitigate all the risk except his risk.
I guess that makes sense for a modern woman nowadays, like how women think. The reason I don't get it is because in my mind, it wouldn't make sense to me because it's like, why would we?
Christian women don't divorce their husbands.
Well, I'm
yeah,
gonna
well,
put
it's
this
also
last-
like I'm not contemplating that if I'm deciding to marry you. So it's like, why would that even be a discussion?